Let me start the recording. Confirm the recording. Yes. So today we are going to
Lokesh,
Yeah, go ahead.
how the Amazon price they'll increase? I mean, how, because of the instances?
Yes. So whatever service you use, so they will charge accordingly. So if you are using T2 micro, so it is a free. If you use a different micro like M4 large or C series or T series, then they will charge based on the pricing rate.
But
Even
I
though the
use
storage also
T2
cost.
micro, T2 micro free only, but they charge so much for me.
Yeah,
Like you,
T2 micro, you can only use one machine. So you can have 760 hours something. You can run one machine for entire month. So if you run two machines for entire month, one machine is free, one machine is charged. So that's why whenever you finish your practice, you need to shut down all your machines or turn off everything. I would say terminate it. You can recreate them
okay,
whenever you
because
want.
of the cedar range also they'll
No,
increase the
no, that's
price.
free. VPC, you can have one VPC. Yes, there is no
And
charge.
and what about elastic IPs and
Elastic
those kind of
IPs, yes, they will charge.
yeah, I
Elastic
think
IP, I think you can use one Elastic IP. I think, I don't know. I need to check the free tier. So Elastic
No,
IP is also
even after
charged.
deleting also it's been charged for me.
No, maybe it's for
So
But
finally I've
usage.
deleted my
Yeah.
account.
but
No, it's for the
only for instances they charge so much for me.
no,
That's why I'm
no,
asking.
no. They
I
don't
think
charge.
I sent you the message how much they
Archana
charge.
was charged for around $90.
Uh, no,
I think mine is 12.
you can actually send a support ticket saying that
Yeah, no,
this
I
is
Yeah,
think she got
accident.
even
actually
refund.
I said that I am a student, like I'm learning, so they
Mhm.
refunded me, but
Yeah,
they
they
charge
did
like
refund. Yeah.
$78 for only instances,
No,
not
they
Elastic
do.
IP.
Yeah.
Elastic IP is different again.
Yeah, they do generally refund in case if you have valid reason. So the same case happened. So one
Yeah,
guy actually,
actually after that I terminated all the instances, so they saw that the list of mine, and
Mhm.
they told this is the reason you turned off the instances. That's why we are giving the refund like that, and they
Mhm.
send me back.
Yeah. They generally do. Amazon is good with that thing. If they have valid reason, they refund it. The same case happened. So one guy accidentally put his root keys in the GitHub, public GitHub. So someone hacked the machine and he spin up machines. I mean, resource like anything from in China, in US, in Japan, everywhere. So all of a sudden, he has got some $10,000 bill.
Oh my God.
So then he approached AWS saying that I did not do anything. Someone accidentally did all my account. Then they verified the activity. Then they refunded. Then they refunded the whole money. These
Lokesh,
things
I have a
happen. Yeah. Yeah.
one
Go
question.
ahead.
Like when
Go
you're
ahead.
creating after launching template,
Mm-hmm.
we are automation, right? When you're doing automation,
Mm-hmm.
we will get the name, subnets, AMI,
Mm-hmm.
and security group. We will get automatically everything, right? After we create that
Right.
AMI and everything. But at the time, what will happen is I'm getting AMI, T2 micro, and subnet and everything, but I'm not getting a security groups. No,
You can
yes,
create. Yeah.
yes, I'm using that one at the time. The Elastic IP is not showing.
Uh, when
When
you are
I'm creating,
creating machine, don't take the Elastic IP. Just take the public IP. The difference between public IP and Elastic IP is, so public IP is assigned to machine by default directly. Elastic IP is assigned to your account. So you have a flexibility changing the IP from one machine to another machine. You can repurpose the same IP address. But whereas enabling the public IP on the machine itself, then whenever the machine goes off, the public IP is gone. It's not constant. Unless you want to keep your public IP constant, then you have to go for Elastic IP.
yeah, what happened is when we are creating website initially with manually, I'm getting a IP address.
Mhm.
But we are choosing like automation. We are going for that like 2 to 3 missions. At the time, I'm not getting a IP addresses.
You have to select that. During the VM creation, right, there is an option drop down. By default, you have a disable public IP. Then you need to change that option.
Yeah,
So let.
I
Mhm.
selected enable one only. At
Yeah.
the
So you
time,
have, yeah, you have to do all the time. Whenever you spin up the VM, it will prompt it. I think there's a setting where you can default this. Let me just verify.
Again, we are spin up means we will get another mission, right?
Yeah.
So if you spin up another mission, that mission only we are getting particular IP. I'm not getting when I'm using the automation like 2 to 3 mission automatically. For that missions, I'm not getting IP.
Yeah. So when you are creating the template, right? In the template, you have to select the public IP enable option. If it is,
I did.
if it is, yeah,
I
if
did
it is
that.
not there, yeah, let me just verify.
That's why what I did, right, for that solution, I just used that elastic templates. I went to the templates and automatically templates from the instance. There is an option in Accents. Templates from instance, I use that one. I create the elastic IP second.
Yeah, so let me see where it is actually. I just wanted to. Is it part of the VPC only? DNS hostname, DNS resolution. There is a option where you can enable, disable that. I'm checking whether it is in VPC or in.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, it should be on the. Okay, let me check the one thing on subnet. Yeah, you see, modify auto and IP settings. You have to enable this one.
Okay. IP
So if you enable this, then automatically you will get the public IP. You don't need to again drop down and select it. So you have to go to the subnet. In the subnet, you select it. Then you use this
Modify auto.
manage auto and IP settings. That will help you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So now let's get back to the today's topic. So we are going to discuss today. 1 minute. So let me today we are going to discuss on the volumes. Okay, so now we have been working on the machines, right? So we spun up so many machines and we know how to install the service and we know how to configure a machine properly, right? So so far we have been using the machine. So now we need to preserve some data. So preserve means keeping it permanently. So even though you terminate the machine, you wanted to get back your data. So how do you do that? So let's suppose in example, so you're running an application, your web application. You can install application, that is fine. And your application needs a data. So that data you are going to keep it on your local disk, right? So something happened to VM, you completely deleted that. So when you again relaunch the new machine, you have to have the data again. So whatever data was created in previous machine, you have to recreate the same. That's again a pain, right? So that's why we use your EBS volumes here. So where we can separate the application data. So let's suppose we have a /var/www/html index.html. That is a simple website. So far we have been using that. So if you want to keep that data permanently, so whenever I spin up a new machine, I want to attach the data whatever I have in previous machine to the new machine. In this case, we use the EBS volumes and the EFS volumes here. So I'm going to tell you about the EBS today. So I have one VM running. I have taken the Linux machine, like Amazon Linux machine up and running. Okay. So now I go to here, volumes. So currently this has a 10 gigs of volume, I think. Sorry. This has a 8 or 10 storage. It is enabled, current has 8 GB only. So now I want more data, but not in the root level. This is called a disk device. So this has one disk device you can call with 8 GB data attached to this machine. So entire your VM's data, your root volume is configured in this box. So once you terminate this, this will go away. Now I want to attach another data. I want to expand my storage. For that, you need to go to the volumes here. So currently I have one volume that is assigned to the machine. When we launch the VM, right, it creates a VM, it creates a volume disk, and then moves to the VM and then install entire your OS. That is what so far has been done. So now I'm creating a new volume. I would say which value you want to take. I would take general purpose SSD. This is like your normal purpose. So if you want the super fast, let's suppose you're running a website that do a lot of transactions. So in that case, you can do provision IOPS. So this has the super input and output processing. And this is provision IOPS SSD IO2. This is called HDD. It is like a low storage, like you just want to back up something or archive something. This is throughput. So you will get good networks compared to the cold. And then magnetic. Magnetic means like we have a tape record, right, in previous back. So where you put the cassette and play the songs. Similarly, the magnetic tape. This is going to be super slow. This is will completely archive. Okay. So we generally use a GP SSD. So you have your application like Facebook, Amazon.com. Then you probably choose a provision IOPS because you need to get good IO speed. I choose this one now. What is the storage? 100 GB is too much. So I just put 10 GB. Okay. Now you see, if I make it 100 GB, sorry, it changes here IOPS. So AWS is smart here. The more size you add, the more IOPS you get. IOPS means input output per second. So it can do these many input output operations per second, 597. So if I increase more, see, then I'm getting 5,970 input output processing, which is super fast. So they say it's like proportionally, it's proportional to your storage. So if you increase the storage, you get more speed. If you decrease the storage, you get less speed. That is how the AWS works. Makes you use more space. But ours is just testing purpose. I just use a 10. And availability zone. So it's asking about availability zone. So I choose 1A, no worries. Or maybe let me choose my machine. Yeah, 1A is fine. Snapshot ID. Currently we don't have any snapshots. I just take it, nothing. Okay. And then encrypt this volume. Encrypt means protecting. So like if someone tried to hack your machine and they try to transfer the data, it is in encrypted format. So they cannot decrypt it. Okay. So at the moment I just use this, no, not encryption because they charge the money. I would give the name additional volume. So rather than additional volume, I can say app data, SUV, app volume. Now I created the volume. This volume is ready. So 10 GB of size is getting ready. It's still creating. So you see this is an in use, means this disk is already attached to the machine. That's why it's in use. And this guy is getting created. So once it is done, you would see available. It means it is free to use. Any machine can now use this. Okay, so now I need to, how can I mount this machine to the VM which I want? For that, you just select this, go to the actions. You see attach value. You click on attach value. Then you choose your instance. So your instance, let me get the instance ID. It is not showing up here. It's in 1A, right? This is the instance ID. I copy this guy. Attach volume. No matching running. It's not running in 1A. It's running in another availability zone, it seems. Oh, it's in 1C. My bad. Let me just try if it gets attached or not. No, it cannot. So let me create another value for the C. I will use the 10, same speed. It is going to be 1C. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Name is equal to SUV app value. 1C. Yeah, so this one is available now. So the currently you can only assign volumes that are created in the same availability zone. So you cannot attach the EBS volume to multi availability zones. I mean intra availability zones. So this is a 1C. I go here, attach value. I got the machine up and running. It's automatically taken SDF. So what is this list? So this is the where your device is going to mount it. So if you don't know about all this, you just click this information, they will give you. So if you want to choose a device, you have to use /dev/sd from the range of F to P. You can assign any name. Okay. I think A, B, C are being used by some other processes. So we are going to use the SDF. Okay. Now this will be attached to my machine now. So if I do refresh, you see it is in use now. This is attached to this machine. Okay, so now let's see whether we can see this disk or not. So in total now I have 8 GB and the 10 GB. I have 18 GB of data attached to this machine. Okay, now let's go ahead and verify our machine. So I copy this address. So SSH minus I SUV EC2 user. So I am in the box now. Okay, so what is the command to see the size of the machine? Tell me. Forgot. Df minus h. So disk free is going to give you the disk available on this box. So if you check the carefully, so we have used, this is dev tmps, tm, you can ignore all this. You see the device /dev/xvda1. This is what it is currently being used, and this is mounted to the slash, and the size is 8 GB. This is the 8 GB of the size, okay, which is mounted to slash. Okay, so now we are not seeing the one that we have attached here, right? But we just did it. So if you can look at this, so we have two values mounted to the same machine here, but this is mounted to SDF. So are we seeing it here? No, because the disk free is going to give you that free space of the number of disk already mounted. Okay, so the disk we have added is just still device, it is not yet ready to use. So now let me execute the command lsblk. This is called list block devices. So now it is showing me the device here. This is the xvda1, which is a disk. This is already partitioned, attached to root, size is 8 GB. And this is another device xvdf 10 GB, and it's still a disk. It is like You just attached a disk, right? Now you need to format it in according to your OS. Okay, so if you have a hard disk, external hard disk, right? If you connect it, it will automatically loads all the drivers and give you the folder access. The reason behind is the disk is already formatted that supports the major of the operating systems. That is the reason you see it. But here, these are all complete bare metals. They're not formatted, they don't have anything, right? That's why we're not seeing any data. So now we need to format this and then we need to configure this. To do that, what we need to do, let me follow the steps properly here. Attaching EBS volume to instance, to EC2 instance. So I'm getting now, this is, yeah. Okay, attaching an EBS volume to instance. So just, this is very important question here. So EBS volume before can only assign to one machine at a time. So it cannot be attached to multiple machines at the same time. It is like typical your, let's assume like a pen drive. So you have a pen drive, right? So pen drive, you can only mount to one laptop at a time, right? So can you mount pen drive to multiple laptop at the same time? No, right? But the same with EBS. But the newer version of EBS, they are now allowing the few types of machines can be attached. I mean, the EBS volume can be attached to multiple machines, and that family is different. I think they are all high, I mean, the high ranges. So that we're not going to do that. So now we are going to mount our volume to the VM. So this is all the steps. They say attach a EBS to instance. This is already we have done. And for device, no, yeah, making an EBS volume available for use in Linux. So I open this guy. So this guy has the instructions. Okay, okay, lsblk, the command that we have executed, and we have seen, yeah, we got exact same results, right? And then we need to verify the file. The command is sudo file -s /dev/xvdf. Do you see what it is seeing here? It is showing here data. Okay, let's check about this guy. Okay, sudo file -s/dev/xvda. So it is showing some more information because this is the device. When we launched the VM, it created the VM template and then created a volume, and then it formatted the volume, and then it installed all the required files. That's why you see it's already partitioned and it has all the information. Okay, so now we need to format our disk. It is plain data, it's like a still bare metal. So now we need to format this. So how do we format? There's a command called mkfs. So let's see the proper command here. So the proper command says mkfs. mkfs make file system. Okay, so mostly all the Linux machines now support the XFS, but Red Hat Linux, you can still use a ext format. If it is a Windows, you use NTFS formats, but ours is Linux. So we are going to use either ext4 or XFS. Okay, so now I'm going to format this to XFS format. So XFS format here means like this. So if you have a pen drive, you can test it. Okay, so you take a pen drive, you mount to your laptop, which is in Windows, then you right click that, you get a format option. So if you format it to the FAT32 or NTFS format, so you can do that. So once all the data will be erased, then you will see your new one. Now you take the printout and attach to a Mac OS laptop. Now try to edit or try to do something. You don't do anything because it cannot understand. The format means it's like a language. So if I give you the English paper, you can read it. If I give you Arabic paper, can you read it? No, because that is not in your expected format. The same way here, the disk also be in expected format that OS can read and write the files. That's what the format here means. Okay, so now our operating system Linux is support XFS format. So I'm formatting into XFS. The command it says is sudo mkfs -t. What is the file system name? XFS, and your device name xvdf. This is our xvdf, right? See, same. Now let's do the formatting. Now remember one more thing. When you are formatting this mkef command, you have to be very careful. The reason behind is, so now we used a fresh volume, right? So that's why it is showing simply data. It is raw material. It doesn't have anything. So now I format this. Now I use the same volume with another machine. When I use with another machine, this disk is already formatted and has some data. So if you execute this command again, then you will lose entire data. The purpose of whole using ABS becomes nothing here. So you have to be very careful. You always use the sudo file -s command on the device that you attached. If you see simple data, it's a bare, or if you see some information like this, then you should not execute this command. It's a very important. Okay. Now I can execute this because it has this information. So now I ran the command, it gave me some information. Now it says what is your type, your version, your block size, everything. So now my machine is formatted in such a way that my Red Hat machine, this machine can understand this now. Now execute the same sudo file command. So xdfs, now it says xvdf sgi xfs file system. Now it understood. It's not plain data now. Now it is a something is there. That is good. So now we formatted. Now next step, this is like installing the packages. In case if you don't get this output, then you don't have the proper packages installed. So you need to install those packages here. Okay. So now let's mount this. So how am I going to mount this disk to a machine? So I am going to install HTTPD in this machine, right? Okay. Now I would say sudo yum install HTTPD -y. So this is installed. Okay, so now I know that my data is going to be, I'm going to sudo su minus /var /www/html. So this is the place where my data is stored, my application data, right? So this is the place. I do df -h. It is still not devised here. It is still not showing up here, that xvdf. So now I am going to mount my device to this directory HTML. Okay, it will be like this. So let me use this thing. Let me probably bring this bigger. So this is what it is going to be. So now I have a slash. Okay, so where I have xvdf is mounted. Okay, so now whatever I create like /tmp /usr like /home EC2 user. So they're all under slash, right? So they will be following the same pattern. Folder 1, folder 1, folder 1, folder here. So they are all mounted to XVDA only. So whatever you data right here or here or here, everything is loaded into the XVDA disk. So now we have another disk, right? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to, what is this? So now this is my this one where www HTML. So everything is loaded to XVDA disk. So now I have another disk here, XVDF. Okay, so now I can mount this directory to this. So now whatever I write inside this directory here, like whatever data I write on this directory will be directly written onto this XVDF, not on the XVDA, because we mounted the disk to HTML directory. So whatever I write inside the HTML will all be stored in the XVDF. So even though if I create another directory here, like data, like backup, everything will be loaded into XVDF, not on the XVDA. This is how the mounting works in a Linux. Okay, so now any doubts on this? Okay, so now I will explain you. So now I have here HTML. Okay, I come back up here. Okay, so HTML directory is here. So now I am going to mount my /dev/xvdf mount to where HTML. So it's better that you always give the full path. Okay, so it is under /var/www/html. This is a command that we execute, and it has to be through the root. Okay, now it is mounted. Now let's do the df-h. Now you see it is giving the result. So xvda is mounted to root, whereas xvdf is mounted to /var/www/html. Now whatever data I write inside the HTML will be stored in xvdf. Okay, now before I run the application, let's do a small test here. Okay, so now I go inside the HTML. Okay, so I create the file here. So my file is going to be, let's say, vim index.html. So now I have here HTML body h1. This is my website. Okay, so this is my website. I have written in the index.html here, right? It's stored in the HTML directory. Okay, so now I come out. I do ls-latr HTML. I still have the data. Okay, so now I unmount it. So before unmount, let's verify. So xvdf is mounted to here. Now I unmount. Umount is the repo. Okay, /var/www/html. So I unmounted. If I do df-h, do I see the device here? No. Now let's see the data. I go to pwd, ls, I still have HTML. I go into HTML, I do ls-latr. Do I see the file here? No, because since we removed the new device, then it is now using the /root. So this is structure. So first we had a slash here, var www HTML. This HTML is still linked to root, right? And this root already has a XVDA mounted. So we mounted HTML directory to XVDF. We put the data. So all the data is now stored on here. Now we deleted the link. So now HTML is referring to where? The same, whatever our structure it is attached to previously. Now it is now point SVDA. So I mean, was there any file available before? No, right? It was empty. That's what it's showing empty to you. Clear? This is how the file system works. So now I have the data here. Clear all ranges. So I have not there. Now let me again mount this, the same command. I go to the history and this is the command I want to run. So you can copy a paste, and you can also use the this exclamation and the number 9. See, the same command got executed. Okay, if I do df minus h, sorry, df minus h, it is attached. Now I verify the data. So let me come out HTML ls minus latr. See, my file is back again because I mounted. Now I can also mount the same directory to some other location as well. To do that again, do /var/www/html. It is there. It is busy because already I'm in the directory. Now I do the same command. It is gone. I do HTML. It is not there. Okay. Now I mount the same thing to a directory called anywhere. TMP is here. I would say I create a directory called make dir test. Okay. Now I mount /device/xvdf2/tmp/test. It is mounted. Okay. If I go inside the test, I would see the index.html here. So now I mounted the device to a different directory. This is how the mounting works. So you can mount a volume to any directory. Okay. Now I mounted here. I can see the data. See, I have my data here. This is the way you can, it's flexible, right? So even though now I terminate the VM, my data is stored in the XVDF volume. Now that volume can be attached to any machine. Okay. So now I remove this unmount /dev/tmp, right? /tmp/test. My thing I need to mount is mount /dev/xvdf2/var/www/tml. This is my directory. Okay, my directory is there. Now let me go ahead and start the service. Systemctl start httpd started. So if you want this service always start whenever you restart the machine, then the command is systemctl enable. So now whenever the machine gets rebooted, this service will be started. Okay, now let me access this guy. I go to the EC2 machine. I need to enable security group for access. So this is guys inside this security group, launch with wizard 2. I add the rule. HTTP 80, and it's going to be same. Everyone can access. I save the rule. The public IP of this one. Website is up. Okay. Now the thing is actually now you see this command, right? The systemctl command start httpd systemctl enable. So this command, what it does is it is going to start the service whenever you restart the machine, right? The same way the mount command that we have used, that is temporary. It is a temporary action. So this mount will be active until the machine is up and running. If you do df minus h, right? So this is connected to this. Once I restart this machine, this mount is gone. Again, I have to come and log in and mount this. It's a manual task, right? So which generally don't like, because now I have my application VM running and my data is kept in this device, right? There is a happens, right? Sometimes VM gets restarted. So when the VM gets restarted, again, this data will be missing. Again, I have to log into the box and do the mount command. It's a pain. So if you want this mount to be permanent, then we need to edit the FS tab entries. Okay, so to do that, we have to go to the /etc. There you see the FS tab file. It's inside the slash. So now I see the thing here. So this says UUID and /XFS. And you see this is the root value, the value which we have already in our EBS, right? The root value, which is 80 gigs mounted to /. That is the reason whenever we restart the VM, we get the same data as it is, because this is configured here. Okay, so now we have to do the same thing for our device as well. So now we need to get this UUID. So we can get the UUID, or we can also directly simply use the same thing /dev/xvdf. This will also works, but they recommend to use the device unique name. Okay, to get that, let me come out. There should be some command to get that. So automatically mount, yeah, sudo bulk ID. This is going to give the our ID, block ID. So xvda is this ID, or xvdf is this ID. I'm just going to copy this as it is. I copied. Now I go to FS tab. I take a new line. I paste it here. I remove this thing. So where you want to mount this? I want to mount this to /var/ww/html. What is the format? XFS format. And you have here defaults, no ATM11. So what are those parameters? So if I come down, I would see the details here. Oh, they don't have here. Viewing volume. No, they don't have. They have some parameters. Let me attaching EFS volume to EC2 instance. Not EFS. Yeah, automatically remount and reboot. Yeah, so they have some not this one. Yeah, they have options here. So first field is going to be your ID, your mount point, your file system type, and the mount options here. So we have so many options available here. And the last two, 0 means a non-zero value indicates that the file system should be backed up by dump, like non-zero value. So currently what we have here, 1. So the data will be backed up. And another one is the order of which FSK checks file system at boot. For EFS file system, this volume should be 0. So file system check. So whenever you reboot the machine, right, it will perform a file system check. Whether do I have file system properly mounted, whether data is correct, format is correct, do I have all the required files, whether blocks device are correct. That's what it is going to perform. So for this also, we are going to follow whatever we have it here, same. Okay, I put it same. Now that's it. Now whenever I restart the machine, the FS tab file will be executed, and this FS tab file has this information. You take this device ID, mount it to here, and this is a format. That's it. This is what? Mounting a disk to a VM additional. Okay, any doubts on this? No? So we can also repurpose this. Okay, so now I have this machine, right? I can simply go ahead and terminate this machine. I go to EC2 dashboard, instances, or I can use another machine also. So let me create the new one and then terminate. Okay, launch instance, same machine, T2 micro, review, launch. So now I created the new machine now. This is, I give the name. So the thing is currently EBS volume can be mounted to one machine at the time, but there are some different families like we have using T2 micro. If we have a different family, then you can also attach the EBS to multiple machines as well. Okay, but now we are using T2 micro. So currently this is the machine to which our EBS attached. Now we are going to mount the same to here. Okay, so now maybe let's log into this, copy the data. So I logged into another box. So maybe I choose a new one. Sorry. SSH minus I EC2 user. Oh, sorry. I attached. So now I am in a different box. Okay. Let me install minus -y HTTPD. I installed the package. Now let me also open up the security of this. This is inside the launch wizard 3. HTTP, everyone can access, save rule. Let me start it. Systemctl start HTTPD. Failed to start HTTP service. The name free desktop policy kit was not provided by any service files. I need to use sudo. Yeah, they started the service. So now I can access this. This is the HTTPD default site because we haven't mounted the disk, right, to get our website. Now what I'm going to do, I'll just stop this sudo systemctl stop HTTPD. I stop the service. I go here. I go to the volumes. This is the volume. Select this, and then you can say detach the volume. Now this is being detached from this box. That is, I think, still used, right? So let me unmount that. Umount /var/ww/html. I unmounted that. Yeah, it is available now. So now I can attach this volume to the newer machine. This is my new machine. Same XDF. attach. Let's wait. It's in use, which is attached. Now I come here, the same command, df minus h, not showing anything. If I do ls list block, now I got the xvdf. So 10 GB. So now we should not be performing mkfs command, because before that we need to execute the file command, file minus s slash dev slash xvdf. See, it already has a data with the xfs file system. So we're not supposed to execute the format command. So now I can mount directly, mount slash dev slash xvdf to the slash where slash www slash html. Our root can only mount, execute the same command. It's done, right? So now I start the service, systemctl start httpd. Started the service. Now let me go ahead and restart my website. See, I got my website back. Did I lose the data? No, I just mounted the disk from one machine to another machine without losing my website data. Okay, that's what we use the EBS value. The reason why we stress this EBS value so much is, so it is always recommended that whatever your application related data is there, we should keep that in a separate disk. The reason behind is the root volume should only contains the files related to the operating system. All the application data and the logs should be written to a different disk. The reason behind is so the disk can be mounted and unmounted, can be repurposed. And also you can also take the backups of that using snapshots. That is called the snapshot. So the snapshots are here. So if you go to the, now you have the data, right? You go to the snapshots here. You can create a snapshot of your additional volume. The snapshot why we create is, this is to give a flexibility for us to take the data, like duplicate copies. So snapshots are kind of backup also. So every day I want to take the backup of my data. So rather than taking entire VM or the root backup, we just only backup the application data to save the cost. So we can also create a policy here. It's a very simple, it's not that big difficult. You create a snapshot and the snapshot will automatically be created whatever schedule you mentioned. So let's do the create. Yeah, I'll take a create a snapshot. So which volume you want to take? I would say 1C hours, right? 1C description app snapshot. The snapshot is created. So now I can use this disk and mount to another VM also. So now I have a duplicate data. It's called duplicate data. I have 1C and I have backup of 1C. So currently 1C is attached to this red machine. Now I can use 1C backup and attach to this machine, because now I have two different EBS volumes. Okay, that's what it is. I mean, you have to create the EBS value from the snapshot before you attach this. Okay, so backups. So now I want this backup to happen every day at 5 p.m. Execute the command. You can also create a policy for that. Yeah, you see the lifecycle manager here. The lifecycle manager will give you a policy like a task. So every day at 9 a.m. I want to back up my volumes, whatever volumes you have. And after that, I want to retain them for 5 days or 7 days or 1 month. So after 5 days, I want to delete the older snapshots that we can create here using the lifecycle policy. So if I click on the policy here, volumes, so you can take a SUV app lifecycle policy. You can also use a housekeeping, and you can also use based on the tags. That is the reason why we use the tags. So it is going to identify all the volumes that has a specific tag. So I have SUV app volume 1C, whichever volume has the tag will be considered for the snapshots. I create the tag here for my purpose. I can do snapshots. SUV app backups. Okay, this IAM role, I'm going to choose the default, create it, because we are asking AWS to perform some certain action, right? So again, AWS requires some privileges. So that privileges will be done through the IAM role. If you don't have one, it will does automatically for us. Let's choose the default one. So policy schedule. So when you want to run this, so I want to run this every day. Okay, like you can say daily backups. Daily at what time? 12, every 12 hours or every 24 hours. So 9 UTC. Retain time, how many you want to retain? Okay, by count or by age. So I want to keep last 5. It means it takes backup every day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. When Saturday comes, it takes the backup, and then you said retain only 5, right? So now we have 6. It deletes the Monday backup so that you are not charged heavily, because usually backups we just need for only a couple of days, right? So we don't usually go back to history. If you really want to go back to history, then you need to maintain it for longer duration. So now the policy is created, and then you create the policy. That's it. Now this will automatically take your backup, snapshot backups, volume backups for the matched volumes, this tag, and then it retained for 5 days. Okay, this is how the lifecycle manager works. So this is very also important question. They may say, how do you housekeep your storage? I mean the volumes. You can say, so we can create a lifecycle policy, so where we can take the snapshots of our volumes, the required volumes, and then we retain it based on the age or the count. That's about the lifecycle policy. We can create it, but it's easy. It's not that difficult. So now we have mounted these volumes to another machine. So we have seen this in action. So any questions on this? No? Okay.
No.
So this EBS volume is giving us an option to mount to only one machine, right? Now, what there's a use case? I want to have a one common place where everyone can share. Like I have 10 machines. So we have been seeing it, right? So now we can scale our application like in typical architecture that we have been discussing. So we have been seeing our this thing, right? So where we have a user here, sorry, uh, where we have a user here, okay, and he access the application load balancer, right? And then we have a VMs behind, right? And each and every has its own data, right? Application data. I have HTTPD here. It is running in HTML. Okay, now I want to make a small change to my HTML file. To do that, I need to log into this box, and this box. 3 boxes, right? Because if I make changes to this machine, now user sees different data, right? So when the user is connected to this machine, he see different website. And when he connects to this machine, he will see different website. Do you generally recommend this? No, right? So whenever you log into Amazon.com, it should always show you the same screen page every time. That is what the best architecture is. So again, if I have a lot of machines, like I have 10 machines, isn't it pain, guys, to do in all the 10 machines? Or this is that either you can do log into each and every box and do 10 times, or another solution is you take this machine offline from the load balancer, you make the changes here, like whatever changes you want to make, changes here, okay, and then create a new image out of this, okay, and then update your load balance, I mean whatever launch configuration rules, launch configurations template to use this newer image, and then you auto scale it. Or maybe you can delete these machines, then the new VMs comes up with the newer image that has all the required data. This way you can also solve it. But again, it's a pain, right? Or maybe it's a good use case, but you have a use case where your HTML data is actually reads it. It requires access runtime. Whenever you run, I have to read the data. I have to write the data. So if I write the data here, like if I write the data here, it should be accessible in any of these VMs. So in that case, we use the EFS. We use the EFS. So how do we use EFS? Let's verify that one. I think we can take a break. What do you guys think? It's 9:06, right? So we can come at 9:15, not 9:20. Okay, 9:20
Yep.
is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll come at 9:20. Okay, so we are going to talk now on the EFS side, right? So we have Prakash. Prakash, you back? Yeah. So we have everyone now. So let's go ahead and start the EFS. So we have seen now how EBS can be mounted to one machine, right? So now we can use the EFS and we mount to multiple machines at the same time, and we access the data in live. So to do that, let's go to the EFS. So where is, yeah, I think it's not here. Let me check for EFS. Elastic file system, that is called the elastic file system. I'm going to create the first elastic file system here. I'm going to give a name. I just use the EFS SUV EFS name, and this is a VPC. Currently the elastic file system can only access to within one VPC, it seems. So now I go to the create. It is being provisioned. So by default, it is encrypted. So it is getting created. Now it's available. So now we have this available. So when you open this, you get one endpoint. Where is the endpoint? Where is the endpoint? You get one endpoint. Where is that one? Sorry, you see this is the name, file system ID, FS9ED2046B. This is the file system ID which we are going to use to connect it. Okay, so let me try to create one more time. I have to use it changes, so this is not the way I did last time. Every time it is always changes. I use the new file system now, SUV website. This is my new file system. I'm going to click on the customize, not the create directly. I have only one VPC. Customize. So I'm going to choose which mode you want. So you want the max input output you're expecting or general purpose. So if you're running an application that requires a lot of IO, then we usually go for this max IO. If not, then just this is the best. And then throughput mode. So you want the like the network speed, network throughput, read throughput, write throughput. So how do you want? You want the bursting or provision? So bursting is fine. Don't need for provisioning. Encryption. So by default, data is being encrypted. So if you don't want the encryption, you can disable that. You can also customize the encryption options here. Encryption means you are going to generate a key pair and you use that key to encrypt this. If you want to decrypt, again, you have to use the key with you to decrypt the data. If you don't have your key setup, then you can use the AWS default key here. But generally, for the production data, we always use our own KMS system, okay, our own key. And then tags. Let me create the tag. It is going to be tag SUV website tag. So I created my tag here. Click next. So network access. So where you wanted to access, under which subnets. So now I have the VPC, right? So this VPC has a availability zones. So which availability zone you want me to access this? So I want to have it access in all the availability zones, because we don't know, right? Where are we going to get our VM spun up? So I use this. I click on the next. So this talking about the policy editor. If you want to have some policies, you can also write here, or you can use the default one. So if you want to prevent root access by default, so if you don't want the root access, and then enforce read-only access. So you can only read the data, but not write. This is only enforce in-transit encryption for all client. So in-transit means, so data is now available in the disk. So if you want to read this from a VM, you need to send a request for a read request through the network. Then it will be read the data, and the packets will flow back to the VM, right? So during this transition, so anyone can do a middleman attack and steal your data. So now the same thing, you have Bank of America, right? You log into the account. So you want to see your balance. So when you see the balance, you need to request from your laptop, and that request goes to Bank of America website, and it goes to the database, and then the data is fetched. So during this transition, anyone in the middle can attack your machine. So data can be stolen, right? If you want to avoid that, we also need to enable the encryption here. This is for only for the highly confidential application, but as our is normal, right? I just keep it default. So now we have a file system policy. We don't want any policy. Let's create. So now it is getting created. Let's wait for some time. It's available. So if I open this, I would see all my endpoints here, access points. No access points. I see the IPs. I'm just trying to see the IPs here. Yeah, so it's getting created. So now your file system is going to create one IP in each and every availability zone under that VPC. Okay, so we generally use this ID to access whatever ID is created, this ID. So in case if it is not reachable, yeah. Can you hear me, guys? Can someone confirm?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So we have to use this ID to mount. So sometimes if the network is not available to access with this, then we can use the IP address as well. Okay. With the IP address also we can mount this. I don't know why it is so slow. I cannot click. Looks like my machine is slow now. I know it's good. Looks like my, okay. So now I'm going to mount this EFS. So this EFS into my machines. So I can now mount this VFS into multiple machines, right? Now let's see. So this is Rajan, the door ma dar mujh. So now I have this machine. Sorry for all the disturbance, guys. I have some my brother's daughter and the kids are here. So this is my one machine, and this is my another machine. So I am going into the root here. Okay. So this is machine 1 and this is machine 2. So 111 and this is 23. So now how do we mount it? The same way. There is no difference. So let me go to the documentation. Maybe that's the best. Maybe that is the best. So making an EBS volume available for the use of thing. So I have this attaching an EBS. This is EBS. So let me go to the documentation here. They should be having the documentation here. So I have the documentation here. Are you working with Amazon resources, managing? Okay. Managing file system, network accessibility, managing file system, transferring data. Yeah, getting started. Yeah, this is the what. Using AWS CLI, not this one. There is a documentation. Create, yeah. So we did, we have done with this. Now create your EC2 resources, and this is the one. Transfer files to Amazon EFS using not this one. So this is done. This is done. This is done. This is also done. Now step 3. S source NFS file system. They are using AWS data sync requirements. Let me pause this here. So first we need to install the related NFS related packages here. So in generally, so now we are using the EFS, right? So in the companies, you would be having the NAS, network attached storage. So that uses NFS protocol. So protocol is NFS. Now we have formatted the data, right, with the XFS format and the ext4 format and NDFS formats. So similarly, if you want to access the network attached storage, then we have to use a NFS protocol. So NFS protocol is a way the data will be communicated over the network between the machines from the storage. Okay. So for that, for the Amazon Linux, so they have a package called Amazon EFS utils. So now we need to install this one. So let me first try with one machine and then I will access with another machine. So I have this data now here, machine. I just do the command sudo yum install -y Amazon EFS utils. I install a utils package. So after that, using, man, they don't have a proper documentation now. So now we installed the required packages in this box, right? So now we know. So when we attached EBS volumes, right? So we chose volume and then we attached to the corresponding VM. So when we did lsblk, it showed us the details. But here, this is not the disk, right? This is not attached to the VM. So we need to access it over a network. So we need now source details. So source details can be found in our EFS system. So where is our EFS here? Yeah, let me open it here. So now we got the EFS here, right? So when I open this, I get the EFS ID. This is the EFS ID. So now let me try to access this directly. So if this is not resolved directly, then we need to use the IP address of that. So let me try with this first. So I open this, okay? So to mount, let me create a temp directory inside the test for the testing purposes. It's already exist. So I go to /tmp. I have the test directory. It is currently empty. Okay, I come out. Now I'm going to mount this. So the same command, mount. You need to paste this. colon slash, that is the source. There is a target. I want to mount to slash tmp test. Let's hit the enter. So it is not resolving because this is not resolving. So now what we need to do, we need to use the corresponding IP address. Okay, so the IP address, how do we get is, you go to the network, you see all the IP addresses. So this machine is actually in 1C, US East 1C. So this is the 1C and this has the corresponding IP address. Okay, I copy this one and then I use the same command mount. Why it is doing here? Paste here slash root mount to slash tmp slash test. Let's see if it is getting mounted. If not, then we need to open up the firewall because this is currently blocking the port, it seems. So this is not going. So we don't have the firewall, it looks like. I mean, security group. So now I need to open up the security port for this. So this is currently in the SEG 35E, right? So I go here. I go to my console. It's under the VPC or EC2. Security groups. Look for the default one. You get this. You open up. It has all the traffic. Source is only this, but we have a different one. Edit inbound rule. Add rule. We need to use a EFS. We don't have the NFS. Yeah, NFS is there. 2049 is the port. So allow from where? So either you can use, we don't use the internet here. So now we have to be so specific because the file system can only be accessed by a range, right? Only our VPC machines. So now here I can give my VPC range. So that range is going to be 172. Okay, let me give everything at the moment. Okay, and then we can come back and check it. I saved the rule. Now it allows. Now let me kill this and give a try one more time. Man, it's still not. Yeah, it's connected. So now if I do slash tmp slash test, it is actually storing my data in my EFS. Okay, we can do the same step in this another machine as well. Okay, so first we need to install the packages, right? So let me get the package that we need to install. This is the Amazon utils. I installed. So now I create directory. So maybe I create this in a where in the present directory itself. So make directory machine 2. So now I'm going to mount this mount. So this machine is also in 1C. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use the same IP address, whatever we have it here. So where is this? So I go to the EC2 here. Sorry, EFS. Select. Click on the network. So 1C is this IP address. Now same. This colon slash. This is the root directory. Mount to where? I want to mount it to slash root slash machine 2. It is mounted successfully. So now let me create the data. So now this is my machine 1, my machine 2. Okay, so let me create the data first. I do touch. It's empty at the moment. Let me go into the machine 2. So it's empty. Now let me create a file abc.txt. Now let's access it here. So do you see the file here? Now if I edit this file here, abc.txt, edited from machine 2. I save this here. I can read the same data here. You see, I have two different machines. This is 23 and this is 111. So whatever I write here now accessible in this machine also. Like we're editing one file. This is not possible with the EBS. Now it is possible with EBS for different family, not for all the families. Okay. So now to explain you the architecture of this, this is how it is actually working. Let me open up the Zoom. So here we have a EFS. Okay, so this also has a security group protected. Okay, so now I have a machine here. So technically we are mounting this one. So from to here. Okay, so this is mounted, let's say in a test directory. The same mounted here in the machine 2 directory, and this is mounted in a my data, the same location. So whatever we write inside here, whatever you write in this machine is actually writing here. So since you have access to this location directly, so whatever data is here, you can able to see this. So if you edit the file here, nothing but you're editing here. So if it is not available here, then you can't even see in this box. So this is what the EFS works. So whereas EBS that we discussed, so EBS is different scenario. You just have one device, you attach this to a VM. You have another VM here. Since you cannot attach it, you need to first detach from this box and then attach here. So not two machines can access at the same time. Whereas EFS, the same data can be accessed by multiple machines at the same time. So whatever this guy is doing is reflecting here, and the same thing is seen here. That's what the difference between EFS and the EBS. So you can also make this mount permanent by editing the FS tab entries.
So for the easiest way to understand is like, in case of EFS, we have the memory reference, so and we can change from anywhere.
Memory, I didn't get exactly your question.
Look, like I'm trying to like understand it in easiest
So
way.
yeah, easiest way to understand is, so if your use case is a data should be accessible by multiple application at the same time, then EFS. If you want to preserve the data and the data can only be accessible by one VM, then it's the EBS.
So it's like EBS is a hard drive.
Yes, hard drive.
Okay, and like EFS will be a reference to
Google,
a memory location. Yeah,
your
okay.
Google Drive,
Yeah.
your Google Drive.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Okay. Yeah.
Your Google Drive or your Apple Drive, Apple OneDrive, whatever it is.
Okay.
So because
Yeah.
you can access from any machine, right? Because data stored at centrally one location, whereas EBS stored locally.
Okay, so like one is one we can think of as a physical, and one we can think of as a cloud.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not
The
exactly,
difference.
but somehow we can relate to that.
Yes, exactly. So the why the difference is, so you may be thinking now, right? So now I have the data located centrally at one place, right? Then why should I use EBS, right? Because Now I have data. So even though my machine is deleted, the data is stored in the EFS system. So I can access it from anywhere. But whereas EBS, it has to be locally, right? So you may ask me this question, so why we have to use the EBS when we have an EFS option? The reason behind this, so EBS is attached to your machine directly, so which gets high speed of IO. Whereas EFS, it has to travel through the network. It is going to use your network bandwidth. So let's suppose you have a 10 Gbps pipeline, fiber channel between your VM and the storage. Okay, so your VPC and the storage has a 100 Gbps network speed, fiber channel. Okay, so if you have one VM, your one VM will use 10 Gbps speed. If you have 100 VMs, 100 VMs will use the same 10 Gbps speed. So now the speed is reduced by 100 Mbps. The more number of machines are increased, the less number of speed you get. Whereas EBS is not. It is mounted to local. So whatever the speed is there in your machine will be used. You are depending upon your CPU processing speed and the disk IOPS that you have chosen. That is the reason why we use the EBS over EFS. So EFS is only for the files that needs to be shared across all the machines. Maybe it can be a configuration file. So now I have an Nginx and I want to have the same configuration being reflected in all the machines. In that case, I can choose EFS and I copy NFS. That will automatically do the things for me.
So Lokesh, if you want personal things, you have to keep it in our system. So we have to use EBS. So if you want to share like overall cloud to customers, whatever, like Bank of America kind of, that time we can use EBS,
Yes,
EFS, right?
EFS is to access the same file at the same time from multiple machines, and the EBS is only for local machine.
So that is means for our purpose, we're supposed to use EBS, right?
Yes. So that's about EFS and the EFS, EBS. So the same thing, you can also mount. So now this mount we have done here, right? The mount command, tf-h. So this mount is also actually temporarily, right? So if you want to make this permanent, again, you have to do the same thing in your FS tab file as well, right? So whatever you are copying it here, right? You have to do the same thing here. This is the source. Target is where you want to mount. I want to mount it to /tmp with whatever you have here, defaults, and 0, 0 or 1, 1, whatever it is. There is one more place is missing. Yeah. So this will make the mount permanent. So this can be interview question. So people ask you, so how can I make the mount permanent? Then you can say the mount command will only give you access to mount the data to one particular directory. If you want to make this permanent, then we have to edit the FS tab entry with the source and destination details. So the source can be your UUID or the device name directly. Okay. So that's about your EFS and the EBS. So I think this is how I used to do for the EFS. It looks like the EFS system is now changed. They're asking for the data sync as well. So this data sync is a new one for me. I don't know how this works. So you may try to explore this when you get some time. So this data sync may be the newer feature available with the EFS. So this will give you some more flexibility. The data sync probably will make the data sync between all the VMs automatically. Okay. This is what about this data sync and all. So now let me check what we have in the EC2. Yeah, this is pretty much that we can discuss. This is the one thing that we need to cover is the key pairs. So key pairs is not that difficult. The key pair is very easy. The key pair is actually you are going to keep your public keys. So let's suppose you have production machines, UAT machines, development machines. So you want all the production machines to use one key, all the development machines to use another key, and all the UAT another key. So there, here you can create the keys here. So let's suppose, so do we know how to create the keys? What is the command to
Lokesh,
create? Yeah.
if you give like all the production team, all testing team, we are using the keys, right?
Mhm.
But how do you know who is going to access our key if we give like that?
Yeah, that is the thing. So we have to be clear. So when you are letting people access, right? So that's why we don't generally give access to UI. So everyone will be done through the CLIs, other templates. We have a cloud formation template, and we have the templates. We just use it. So whenever want to access, they just use the stack. That's called a cloud formation stack, or they have templates, the VM templates. It will automatically spin up. So when we join the company as a DevOps engineer, so the cloud architects. So if we have a cloud team separately, so then they will be taking care of all these actions,
Okay.
like creating the key, spinning up the machines and all. So if you join as a cloud engineer and DevOps engineer, cloud engineer, then you will be doing all these activities. May not through the UI, but through the CLIs or other automation methods. Can be a Terraform, it can be a cloud formation template, it can be Azure, AWS CLI, it can be a Python SDKs. It depends. But we are seeing the UI here so that you you feel comfortable to understand the concept. So once you understand the concept, then you can also automate this using the CLIs. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now we have. So now we what I was explaining, I forgot.
Key pair, key pairs.
Yeah, key pair, right? So can you tell me comment how to generate the key pair?
SSH keygen.
Good job. SSH keygen minus T RSA. So you can give this for prod. So you got the key pair here, right? So you have prod key pair. You can do the same thing for the dev as well. So now I got the key pairs for prod and dev. So this is the production public key, right? I just use the prod.pub. I copy this here. So you have an option here, either key pair create or import it. I'm going to use the import key pair. So you can use the production. You can paste it here. Add the tag production only. Key pair is imported. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the dev as well. So the keys are loaded. So now next time if I want to create a VM, easy to dashboard, instance, launch instance, and then what? Yeah, so I choose this one, right? VM. If I go to the review and launch, in the launch section, I see the key pair here, which key I want to use. So if you use a dev key, then you have to use a dev private key to access this. So now let me use this. I chose a dev, right? Come on, come on, come on. This is coming up. I don't know why it is so slow. So the dev box is running, right? It's still initializing, but we got our public IP. So now I have to use the dev private key only. Okay, SSH minus I, use dev private key EC2 user, and then this guy. You see, I got connected. I can only use the dev key here. So that key you need to protect. This private key is here, right? You have to protect it. So you may keep this in some key store vault or key, whichever tool providing you to store the keys. Okay, so that's how about the key store. So if you want to, so I will give you another option. So every time, whenever you want to connect to the VM, right? So you have a git bash, you have terminal, right? You always use SSH minus I, right? So if you want to avoid that, so what you can do, we can simply generate the key here in your git bash. It can be git bash, it can be your terminal. Do the same command, git keygen minus t rsa. Okay, then you don't give the name, just hit the enter. Just hit the enter. So after once you hit the enter, so in your dot, in your home directory, you would see the keys. You would see these two files getting created. So now what you would do, you use this key, okay, id underscore rsa. So you copy your public key and then go to your key pairs, import key pair. You can give your laptop, so you can do git bash or you can do anything. This is my Mac, right? I use my Mac. I copy my public key and I add the tag my Mac. I imported the Mac key pair. So next time when I launch the machine, I just use that key. Launch instance. So in the launch, I just use the Mac key. Still running. Yeah, it's running now. So I go to here. I take the IP address of the machine which I launched, and that is using the Mac key. Okay, see the Mac key pair. So now I go to my git bash. Okay, I go to my git bash. So I can do it from anywhere. I don't need to go to the directory where I downloaded the key and everything, right? So I can simply do SSH EC2 user at this. That's it. So when you don't mention minus I parameter, then this SSH by default consider the private IP, private key of this. This private key will be considered, and then it takes this key to log into this box. So since we have already copied the public key over there, and we are using this public key to the machine, then the key pair matches and it allows us to log in. Now let's see. Okay, so I hit the enter, I go to the home directory, I just do SSH EC2 user at this. See, I logged in. Now I can do it from anywhere. So I exit, I'm back to my machine. Now I go to /tmp. I can also do the same command. I'm still connected. That is the advantages of key pairs if you want to use for your laptops, personal laptops. So that's about the key pairs. So any doubts on this?
Mhm.
No. So now whatever we have configured, make sure that you delete everything because every key pair is also charged. Okay, they just only allow one key pair. So I'm going to keep the only Mac one because I'm going to use this for further classes. Okay, and delete everything, even the file system and the EBS volumes as well. Okay, so this is done. So now let me stop. I just want to discuss on how we need to prepare for the interviews and the calls. So let me pause this.